week of landmark birthdays. We meet 75 years and 5 days since it all began. Today, Formula One returns for its latest chapter, racing at a sporting crucible that has witnessed it all. The birth of rivalries in red, in white, defensive brilliance in blue, and the inescapable loss of an icon. Formula One history is woven into the fabric named for Enzo and Dino Ferrari, and it's time to make some more motor racing memories. We await the championship leader versus the world champion, racing down to Tamburello, the first braking zone on this circuit that runs to 3 miles or 4.9 kilometers. After all the weekend chat about the C6 tyre, it is the C5 and the C4 that we expect to be running on the cars with a one-stop strategy today. Beyond the terracotta rooftops, we come to a racetrack that broke ground in 1950. It makes sense that we're racing here. One of the classics for round 7 of the World Championship in 2025. From the back to the front, Yuki Tsunoda will be finding himself on the pit lane, waiting for the green light at the end. Oliver Bearman, a lot of controversy there, but he's starting 19th on the grid. Esteban Ocon is 18th. Nico Hülkenberg, P17 for Sauber. Franco Colapinto returns to Formula One. He's in 16th position. And then in Liam Lawson's car will line up P15. Gabriel Bortoletto is 14th. Local hero Kimi Antonelli missing Q3 for the first time since the opening round of the year. For the first time in Imola F1 history, there's no Ferrari in the top 10. Inexplicable. Pierre Gasly is in 10th position. Isaac Hadjar continues his strong one-lap pace with P9. Lance Stroll reached Q3 for the first time this season. Alexander Albon is hopeful that Williams have fixed a fuel leak. In P6, Carlos Sainz finds himself in the top 6 for the 3rd Grand Prix in a row. And welcome back to Fernando Alonso. 20 years on from when he won the Grand Prix here, he starts in the top 5, his best this season by miles. Lando Norris is 4th, disappointed with his one-lap pace again. George Russell used the medium to get to 3rd. And once again, it's Piastri next to Verstappen, but they have never lined up on the front row in this order, with Piastri the lead car, thanks to his 3rd career pole position. In the commentary box, I'm Alex Jakes, and this is some venue to enjoy Formula One racing. It is time to check in with our co-commentators today, starting with a man who won here back in 1998, the last time, David Coulthard, that McLaren climbed to the top step here.
Incredible, isn't it, that they've had such a lean spell in Formula One, as well as not coming here for a few years, but they are on the march as we look back at Lando Norris as he tries to figure out, okay, yesterday didn't quite come together, but every race is an opportunity, and sports people have an amazing ability to just completely reset the mind. It's almost like an Etch-a-Sketch, if anyone's old enough to remember those devices that you'd write on and then just pull this little lever across. The mind goes blank, and then it just goes into race mode. And this man there, you've got to say Piastri, he's just quietly going about, excuse me, getting my words out, he's quietly going about being brilliant.
He is the driver to beat. Jolyon Palmer is alongside us once again at a racetrack that you always enjoyed behind the wheel. What makes Imola so special for those competing in the field?
It's just so old school. I mean, this is a circuit lined with grass and gravel. The barriers are close. And jeopardy as a driver is what is kind of fun. It is the challenge of hurtling around up to 200 miles per hour into Tamburello, threading your needle through some of the faster chicanes. There's massive undulations as well. It's difficult to overtake, but it might be possible today with a big old headwind down towards the first braking zone where the DRS is in play. So I reckon we got the recipe for a decent Grand Prix today.
And we are ready to head on to the formation lap. Oscar Piastri's car determinedly pointed, not lined up level with his grid box, but a slight angle pointed in the direction of Max Verstappen. As we go on to the formation lap, is that a tell of what we can expect in about 3 minutes' time?
It's a difficult start. You can see the grid here, and it just ambles to the right-hand side first, which will give Verstappen from second a chance to get alongside.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all the hard work last night and today morning. The car was together. Thank you.
That's Franco Colapinto thanking his Alpine team who rebuilt the car after a big crash at the Tamburello chicane. That will be our first turn on the racetrack. Yuki Tsunoda had a massive accident rolling the car across the tyre barrier at the second chicane, named for Gilles Villeneuve, and you're watching the climb out of the hill, out of Tosa, past the Tifosi to Piriton.
So that start will be crucial. First of all, it heads to the right, but then it heads back towards the left, and where Piastri will then have the...
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all the hard work last night and today morning. The car back together. Thank you.
In those days, there was a lot more sort of variation in the starts. They're so sophisticated now. The drivers are so consistent in that start procedure that we don't tend to see what was able to happen back there in the 90s. But never say never. And as Julian's just pointed out, pole position is no guarantee that you'll be leading this Grand Prix at the end of the first lap.
The other thing I'm excited to see here is how we see Piastri under pressure from Verstappen. The last two races that they've had, Piastri has had the measure of Verstappen. He made it up the inside from second place in Jeddah. He passed Max in Miami, but both of the time he was attacking. This time, he is the man lining up here with things to lose, and Max can go on the attack. And the psychological shift there, I think it is relevant, especially when you've got someone as hungry as Max to get into the lead at the first corner. All the relevant drivers, by the way, in the top 11 start on medium tyres, so strategy looks negated in the early part.
Well, we'll have the slightly longer wait, of course, for the pole man sitting on the grid waiting for Tsunoda, who's bringing the pack round, just coming through the second of the Rivazzas. So engine temp goes up slightly, tyres, of course, go down ever so slightly, but that's a nice tight pack as they make their way around to the final formation.
Just to cover off, we're expecting a one-stop. The highest driver on the grid on the hard tyre is Lewis Hamilton, the Whitewood hard tyre for Lewis Hamilton, and many outside of the top 10. But highest runner starting on the hard compound is the 7-time world champion, racing on Italian soil for the first time in his scarlet Ferrari. Yuki Tsunoda has made his way to the pit lane. 19 drives on the grid. Green flag at the back. We go racing in 5 lights time at historic Imola. Here come the lights. And the Grand Prix is underway. Good launch off the line from pole sitter Oscar Piastri, but also George Russell as well, who's alongside Max Verstappen. It's going to be close. Momentarily, he's up to second place, but Russell backs out of it. And Verstappen roars around the outside to take the lead in spectacular fashion.
Unbelievable. Have I just had a out-of-body experience, or did he go round the outside of 2 cars into turn 1?
Unbelievable.
One of the incredible turn 1, lap 1 passes there from Verstappen. First of all, looked like Russell was going to have him. He had the better launch. Max said, no way, mate. And then went and took the race lead as well from under Oscar Piastri's nose. That was incisive and utterly brilliant.
Well, it's also absolute commitment. There is no way out of that. You're either coming through or you're in the gravel. He's prepared to risk all to win this Grand Prix. A long way to go, 63 racing laps, but in terms of stamping his authority on a race start, I cannot believe what I've just seen.
You are listening to a winner of a Grand Prix around Imola in raptures at a bold and brilliant move to take the lead. The only lead position change that we've seen was for the lead. Gasly's up to 9th. Charles Leclerc is up to 10th position. Hadjar lost a couple of places, and that was a great start for Verstappen, who leads across the line by 9/10 of a second.
That was like Piastri's move on Norris in Monza last year, the last Italian race that we had for the race lead, but better. It was from further back, and Oscar would have not been expecting that one. He had his mirrors full of George Russell, who was right under the rear wing of the McLaren, and suddenly Max sends it in, and he's disappearing up the road already, 1.2 seconds clear.
DRS has been enabled. Esteban Ocon is the Haas driver who has come into the pit lane, and he has gone very, very early to the hard tyre. This is Max Verstappen around the outside.
I even in slow-mo, I cannot believe what I'm witnessing. Brilliant piece of awareness from Piastri, because, of course, there's no point in having contact with Max. Max absolutely committed. And, well, Julian, you told us we've seen this before, but I must have been zoning out at that moment, because this to me feels like I've just seen something for the first time. Unbelievable.
It's a genius move. The genius is that he's attacked the brakes and the entry of the corner so aggressively that by the time Oscar realises what's happened, he can't do anything about it, because if he comes off the brakes, if he then runs Max off, Max has done enough on the way into the corner that he's actually ahead at the apex, and really it's going to be a collision if Oscar then does something about it. The reaction's too slow, and Max just knew exactly where he could brake, had the last possible moment to do that, and kept it on the track, kept it inside the white lines. Exquisite.
Kimi Antonelli side by side with Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari versus Mercedes, and Antonelli finds himself in P12 at the moment. Antonelli being chased by Hamilton. They're continuing on. Hamilton, who has lost a position from where he started in this Grand Prix, and it's the favoured team from the locals and the local hero, born in Bologna, just a few miles down the road. He had his school friends with him on Thursday. He was throwing caps into the crowd at Tosa, and this is getting very close between Charles Leclerc, who's looking to the inside of Piratella, and he gets through. Gasly off the racetrack, bouncing through the gravel, losing positions. Leclerc up to 9th position. Hadjar gains 10th, and then it's Antonelli now in 11th. Hamilton is 12th, and Bortoleto squeezes by. Gasly chose to try and hang on and paid the price.
Yeah, no foul there. That was just tough racing in a very high-speed corner. Cars heavy with fuel, of course, and Gasly would have just been slightly off that race line, and momentum took him to the gravel. It's so frustrating, isn't it, Julian, when you just trickle into the gravel, because you've got to go in to come out, and you know you're losing time.
Yeah, as soon as you drop a wheel there, you're going all the way in at a high-speed corner like Piratella. Brave stuff from Gasly, possibly unnecessary, really, against a Ferrari now that's gained 2 positions. Remember Gasly having the contact on lap 1 with Tsunoda in Jeddah? There's a couple of times now he's had a top 10 position, and he's lost it by fighting cars, a Red Bull or a Ferrari, that are probably a bit quicker than the Alpine.
Well, Carlos Sainz has talked about that earlier in the year. He went from what was then front-running Ferrari team to the midfields, and he was talking about the fact that you have to recalibrate slightly when to pick your battles.
Yeah, maybe he thinks a Ferrari's fair game today, to be fair. I mean, Leclerc's found 2 places, but was squarely out-qualified by the Alpine yesterday. We're expecting Ferrari to have good race pace. Hamilton has lost the position to Antonelli at the start. They both are on the hard tyres and remain the front-running cars on the hard tyre. But I think Leclerc making a little bit of headway, a bit of progress early on, and you can see he's immediately glued to the back of Lance Stroll ahead. I think he will have the race pace to fight through here.
Yeah, he's going to have to make use of those tyres as well, knowing that the life of them isn't going to be as good as the hard. And just a thought to Piastri, I spoke to him on the grid, and he actually surprised me in as much that he said, well, even if I don't get the first corner, it's a long race, long afternoon. So I can't believe that he did think he was about to get overtaken around the outside, but it's almost like mentally he's got the plan B already. And of course that pace, the underlying race pace of that McLaren should see him be able to come alive in comparison to Verstappen a bit later in the race. But is this place too much like a Suzuka for them to be able to do anything about it?
Well, the one thing that might have influenced the start, and the one thing that might influence passing into turn 1, is that headwind. Let's have another look at the reaction time here. Not the best reaction time for Max Verstappen, but he's going to turn it round. Russell marginally ahead at this point as we head to turn 1.
Yeah, punching a hole in his own air, Verstappen, but he's also got clean sight of the braking. And I suspect, Julian, even Verstappen didn't know he was going to do that until he knew he was going to do it.
He was committed to passing Russell, absolutely, and then thought, I'll have a go and take the race lead. Russell has by far the best start, and without Oscar here defending the inside, George was going to sneak past both of them, but actually has to just get out of it right there. That allows Max the chance, and then...
Piastri, what was he doing?
So... yeah, I mean, Russell, that's...
Piastri, what was he doing?
Any road anywhere in the world, really, where one driver's questioning what the other driver's playing at.
Yeah, a little bit of honesty there. That's what you sometimes don't hear when the driver is frustrated to see their chance disappear. That was Gasly heading off the road. This is what it looked like further back on board with Lewis Hamilton.
I want to know how they're side-by-side coming into Piratella.
I believe they were making contact through Tosa, the previous corner.
Yeah, that's the bit that we want to have a look at, because it's really not a conventional overtaking place at all. In theory, the overtaking is done at Tamburello. It's the first braking zone on the circuit. So how they're side-by-side here must have been a bit of an attempt from Leclerc at Tosa. Bit of contact maybe, and we'll wait for a replay on that one to see how that played out. And then Gasly really just trying to work it around the outside, but it's not rubbed in there. It's a quick corner, it's off camber over the crest, and off he popped to the gravel.
Well, Max Verstappen taking the lead. He had dropped down momentarily to third place. George Russell had no room to use the momentum of his start. And then on the brakes to second, on the brakes to first. And a lead of 1.9 seconds, despite Oscar Piastri holding the fastest lap of the race. Russell giving us a little insight into what the drivers really feel, but you don't always hear on the radio. Norris not going for a strategic offset, like some were suggesting pre-Grand Prix, sticking with that medium. Alonso holding in position, and we are into the DRS train phase of it. Everyone close to each other. Is anyone able to make a move? Like Lewis Hamilton on Kimi Antonelli, as Charles Leclerc, who has gained 2 places in this Grand Prix, reports that the tyres are better than expected.
It's a welcome compliment for the team to hear in what's been a difficult weekend so far.
Still right in behind Lance Stroll, putting big pressure on the Aston Martin for 8th. Hamilton's looking good as well behind Antonelli. Ferrari, well, they knew they were going to have to do some overtaking today, and they're setting about it early on. Problem is, for Leclerc, it's DRS train that strolls in within a second of Albon, who's within a second of Sainz, who's within a second of Alonso, who's within a second of Norris, who's within a second of Russell. So they're all bunched up, really, behind George Russell in third. And the problem that McLaren have is their straight line speed wasn't as good as their rivals yesterday. They're running slightly more downforce. It's giving them good pace around the lap, but it's not giving them a mighty top speed. So Lando here, stuck in behind George for third. He doesn't have a massive weapon there to get the overtaking opportunity. He's going to have to probably do something on the brakes.
It's 43-degree track temperature at the moment. Air temperature is 23 degrees. We're expecting a one-stop strategy from these medium tyres that everyone is running in the top 10. The window opens around lap 19, so lap 25, it's getting closer and closer and closer. Does Norris have an opportunity? Lando Norris thinking into the braking zone, got close but not close enough. We throw it back to Lewis Hamilton again, getting close under braking but not able to make his way past the Mercedes. And again, he's got big momentum, but there's only one DRS zone around this 3-mile racetrack, and it runs from the final corner down to the first braking zone of the circuit. Hamilton again having to study the Mercedes. We go back to the battle that closed within 0.3 of a second under braking, as Norris tries to make inroads on Russell, who tried something different yesterday. Didn't use the softest tyre available, used the medium at the end, and that's how he was able to jump Lando Norris. Russell, who had designs on second place earlier on, seeing himself fall to third, and he's been left behind by those out front. George Russell is 4.6 seconds away from the race lead.
Some tight little groups here, as you see. Well, was that Carlo Pinto just getting a bit too deep on the way into the first of the regatas? I've just been looking at his times, actually, and it's as much as the clean air or dirty air allows, he's matching Gasly. Gasly obviously on the back foot.
This could be a chance for Norris here. He's slightly closer this lap than he was on the last. Russell knows it, tries to do a little bit of gentle weaving to break the toe.
I think it was Gasly chasing Bortoletto, that replay that we just saw. There's going to be no way by. The traditional move, you saw what Max Verstappen did in terms of going the long way round to turn to the first part of the chicane. Is he going to try into Villeneuve? There's going to be no room there, and it's close, but no way by for Lando Norris, who has the pace, but it's a narrow racetrack, and carrying huge speeds through the chicanes that were introduced in 1995 after the tragic events the year before.
Yeah, and I think that George will understand well where to position his car. If there is just so much momentum across the start-finish line, then that's the best opportunity for Lando. But any of these marginal round the outside, hoping that that becomes the inside in the second chicane, that puts a lot of trust in the car in front of you. And a long season, you want to be finishing with good points. Of course, he wants to be right up there with Piastri battling for the win.
I'm not sure how I'm going to make it to the target. Pushing like this.
Well, that's why you're paid the big buck, buddy. You're the guy in the car because you've got...
I'm not sure how I'm going to make it to the target. Pushing like this.
That having to go to the inside has given Lando Norris a chance. Is there a car's width? No. And he was doing a bit of lawn mowing heading down to the Villeneuve chicane. Again, good momentum for the McLaren. But George Russell's defence has brought Fernando Alonso along to the party. And look at where the race leaders are. They've checked out front.
More than a second clear on the last lap. Verstappen and Piastri now getting away from Norris. So this is now getting into the realm of Miami again, isn't it? Where Lando had the pace but couldn't execute the move on the first attempt of passing Verstappen on that day, and it allowed the leader Piastri to break away. Norris needs to make a way through.
Just drove on the grass. Just drove on the grass.
Third position, chasing his fifth podium of the season today. This is round 7 of the championship.
I think also he is actually a keen gardener. I'm pretty sure I've seen a feature somewhere where he was trimming his lawn and bushes and all sorts. So maybe he just feels that's a bit off, damaging the grass.
Take 3 with Lando Norris up against George Russell. Now there's a lot of momentum, but again, no opportunity. So trying the different lines once more, but it's going to have to be a bold move into the second chicane. Lando Norris out of the slipstream. Can he go around the outside and pinch to the apex first? He can. Another great overtake in this Grand Prix as Lando Norris, he's able to stay ahead for the moment. They're bunching up, but Norris has third place in the race.
All credit. Brilliant move. Really, really difficult to do that. You have to place a lot of trust in where your car's going to be positioned, and then the driver that you're overtaking, of course, doesn't open the steering and then take you to the gravel.
To blitz it round the outside of that left-hander. That's where Yuki Tsunoda got it wrong yesterday, ended up in a roll. The commitment there is intense for Norris. I love that he's drifting. You can see the car sliding as he's in the dirty air of the Mercedes here. And this was the second look around the outside, and he knows he has to just bury it in there and hope that George doesn't go with him. And it was a lovely pass in the end for Lando. Third lap and finally through. And now he's immediately just dropping George Russell, who is struggling.
Yeah, you can see being told to head to the box now, pick up some fresh tyres. He is the first to head in, followed by...
I think it's Carlos Sainz who's coming in as well in the Williams. And so we were expecting our first pit stops to be around lap 19 from the medium tyre. Mercedes and Williams going against that, going for the early stop. They'll get the advantage of a fresh set of hard tyres and the extra grip it provides.
Yeah, this will fall, mainly fall into very clean air, I suspect. We've got Leclerc has just made his way through.
And rejoining out on the racetrack, and you can see Charles Leclerc in 15th position, George Russell in 16th, and Carlos Sainz in 17th place, and Charles Leclerc, having made the stop, getting the advantage of that fresh rubber and getting ahead on track. And you've seen how difficult it is for even the dominant team of the World Championship to pass.
I think Plan A is very ambitious at the moment. Copy, Oscar.
Yeah, I think their plan A was, as you were suggesting, Alex, a stop late teens, early 20s to try and target a one-stop, but it just seems that those mediums have not been as durable as we expected.
I think Plan A is very ambitious at the moment. Copy, Oscar.
Costly to pit at full racing speed. Of course, you'd have to do it or hope there's a safety car, in which case you can shave 10 seconds off that. But it's a long old pit lane as we see Fernando rejoining.
So Fernando Alonso with a little bit of a brake fire on the left-hand side of his car there, and now the right-hand side. So that should go out when he rejoins and he gets the cool air of Northern Italy through the car, and he rejoins. Russell goes through. Can he beat Sainz? That's the aim for him. Alonso able to cover off. Yes, and he does cover off Carlos Sainz.
This has worked out beautifully for Leclerc, hasn't it? He's pumped in the fastest lap of the race with the early pit stop. He's undercut Russell, who was in fourth. All of that scrapping that George had with Lando slowed up this whole bunch. He's undercut Alonso, he's undercut Sainz, and Leclerc is basically now in a net fourth place, gunning for a net third place by the time Norris pits.
Yeah, Norris has been told on the radio, sorry DC, but Norris has been told on the radio, need all the pace you have, or you have to cover this off.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Last time around, Norris in clean air, 22 flat, as Piastri heads to the pits, which compared to 21.5 for Piastri, 21.4 for Verstappen. Expect Verstappen to want to cover this next time round.
Norris has upped his own pace. I still don't think it's enough to cover off Leclerc at this rate.
So a slow stop for Oscar Piastri by modern Formula One standards. 3.6 seconds, not ideal for him as he tries to make use of this fresh rubber. That long pit lane that David and Jordan have been telling you about, and apply the power back to racing speed and a massive outlap. That slow stop has meant that there's even more pressure on this outlap for Oscar Piastri if he's going to worry Max Verstappen, the race leader, after 14 laps.
Yeah, we're going to see just in the background, Leclerc is not that far behind. So this is Fernando Alonso. You already mentioned the wheel fire, brake fire, as he was sitting there, and it wasn't obvious. You can see now front left has gone, ooh, I want to just burn a little bit. And then front right goes, don't forget me, I'm hot too.
And here was the race leader. We'll clip that up for later, DC. Oscar Piastri with a slightly slow stop, 3.6 seconds, and takes the pressure slightly off. But if you can fire up these hard tyres quickly, not take too much out of them, the undercut worth a lot.
So Leclerc's now 4 seconds behind Piastri. Piastri was running second. Leclerc is net ahead of Norris with the way that he's gone. Ferrari have absolutely nailed the strategy with Charles Leclerc today. What does Verstappen do on this lap? He's done another tour, but surely he's going to have to cover off Piastri as well, because the undercut looks so powerful. It could be a second per lap, it could be more than that, with the McLaren fully unleashed on a new hard. So Max has got to think about keeping track position over Oscar soon.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Max didn't consider the stop there. He did bring his personal lap time down, matched by Norris pretty much, but it's all about what can Piastri do. He's got clean air until he gets up to Sonoda, which is the next bit of traffic ahead.
The slower McLaren stop has probably bought Red Bull one extra lap, and they'll be thinking long term. I mean, this is heading towards a two-stopper with these early pit stops. Unless the hard tyre is much stronger, then they're thinking we need to keep some life in this left. Of course, Norris staying out there as well and still circulating reasonably well in the other McLaren on the mediums.
Okay, Max Verstappen leads by 10 seconds from Lando Norris, and we have plenty of racing still to go. And how far can Verstappen and Norris take things as we go on board with Lewis Hamilton, the driver who started on the hard tyre in this Grand Prix. He was the top runner on the grid to start on the hard tyre, the winner of this race back in 2020, and he started in 12th, and he was now in 6th position, still staring at the back of Kimi Antonelli, who is still staring at the back of Isaac Hadjar.
And that's how you could defend that first corner. Antonelli, even just going to the middle of the road there, is not a massive braking zone, and you could just see from Hamilton's point of view, how do you do anything about that? You can't lunge the inside, and all Antonelli has to do is just hover in the middle of the road, and there is really no way through. Now, Hamilton has been very frustrated the whole race here. Remember, he started ahead of Antonelli, got done on the opening lap, and since is just sitting in behind the Mercedes. They're both moving up the order, 5th and 6th now. It's a waiting game at the moment for them.
It is indeed, as we go on board with Liam Lawson. And keep an eye on Piastri's time. Well, that's a straightforward DRS. Even before you go past the end of the pit lane, he's managed to complete that pass. So that's how you'd really like it to play out when you've got DRS. But of course, back in the cut thrust at the front, it's happening a bit later. I wanted to mention Piastri's time. It's only 3/10 quicker than Verstappen, who's on those older tyres. So I didn't see a big pump of lap time on his outlap. So is he actually trying to manage those tyres with the view to making a very long one stop. And is that giving Verstappen the opportunity to not sort of react and have to go covering something that will just give him longevity in his tyres late in the Grand Prix?
It's exactly that. This isn't working out great for Piastri here. The undercut attempt is just not materialising. He's not unleashing enough pace. And he's very soon going to be with Yuki Tsunoda. In fact, he's with Tsunoda right now, Verstappen's teammate, who can get elbows out. Yuki started at the pit lane. If he can do anything for Red Bull today, it's going to be keeping Max's rivals
car behind is Piastri at 1.5 seconds. He is Max's race, so do your best to hold him up.
I thought they were going to, I'm sorry to come straight in there, I thought they would come up with some sort of whistle words to effectively say the same, but no, I think that guy sounds Scottish. He's just gone straight to the point. Hold him up, son.
Yeah, Sergio Perez's old performance engineer promoted to race engineer. First for Liam Lawson last year, and now for in the opening 2 races of this year, and now for...
So car behind is Piastri at 1.5 seconds. He is Max's race, so do your best to hold him up.
Some sort of mega overspeed on the main straight to make the move. Tsunoda's wide at Ravazza 1, and that could be slam dunk first attempt with a mistake there from Yuki.
Yeah, he's got one job right now, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to help at all.
Now Oscar Piastri with the speed to go past here. Now McLaren does have a little bit, oh, it's so close because it's a narrow racetrack, but Piastri knows he needs these passes, and he gets it done. Had a car's width, took a car's width, and improves.
I mean, you can see there, that was not easy for Piastri, even with the mistake that Tsunoda made at the last corner there. He's missed an opportunity to really cost Piastri some race time there, Yuki, but there is another line of cars ahead, so even if Tsunoda can't do it, still got Behrman, and then the stream of cars in front of him still, Colapinto and Hulkenberg, and all of this is hurting Oscar Piastri's race time. He's a second slower than Norris on the last lap. He's a second slower than Verstappen clearing Yuki Tsunoda, so even if Yuki couldn't hold him back, this is not working out at all well for Piastri.
So again, I wonder if that's why he's sort of come into this stint reasonably gently, taking that view that if we're going to win this race, we definitely need to give ourselves the option of the one stop, where if we hit it hard and take too much out of our tyres, then even though the tyre in theory in terms of wear could make it to the end, you just reach that point where you run out of grip.
Tough to see how he's going to win from this position here. Stuck in now behind Ollie Behrman. Should be a slam dunk passes. He's got DRS and Behrman hasn't, and Behrman's not going to fight it particularly hard. Piastri's up to 9th. He's got more traffic ahead then. It's Colapinto next. And all the while he's coming through these cars, it's 1.3 seconds he's lost to Verstappen. And every lap he's taking passing these guys, Verstappen and Norris will have fresher tyres when they pit to hold the place, keep the pace, go attacking Piastri. So he's slow and he's using up the hard tyres in this melee. It's not working out for them.
It's 28 seconds for a stop, and Oscar Piastri is 32 seconds off the pace, off the back of Max Verstappen, who is our race leader, by 9.6 seconds. Alex Albon still yet to stop, and the same applies for Hadjar, Antonelli, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, the Argentine driver, returning to Formula One in place of Jack Doohan. This is his 10th Grand Prix start today. Colapinto, who was in for Logan Sargent last year at Williams, and has 5 races confirmed, although the team have been debating that. If you ask Flavio Briatore, you hear one thing. If you ask other people in the team, you have another. But either way, Colapinto back in the championship, at least until just before the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think Flavio said that as long as he drives quickly and doesn't crash, he'll be in for as many races as it takes. So he was slightly blotted his copybook yesterday, as we're going to see another fairly straightforward DRS pass there for Piastri, and he continues his journey. I'm just trying to figure out for Norris right now in McLaren, for them to now win this Grand Prix, ideally they'd be looking for Verstappen to pit first, a safety car to come out, pit under safety car, get that massive advantage in time that you talked about, Julian, and then go on to victory. Now, that's the sort of Hollywood script option one, but what are the likelihoods of that happening?
Well, not that high. It's going to be a bit of luck for that.
The key for us is free air. The key for us is free air and going long.
Much. So these regulations were completely rewritten. 21 to 22, ripped up the technical rule book. The downforce generated from the floor way more, but of course all the teams are not interested in an overtaking battle. They're interested in performance, and the floors have become more intricate. They have become more aerodynamically efficient in generating downforce, but it's created more dirty air. So getting your car in clear air, even more important than it has been in previous years. Charles Leclerc has had to follow Yuki Tsunoda for a while, no more. He's out of the wheel tracks, he's up to 11th place, and he is trying to make use of a great strategy call from Ferrari early on.
Alex, 21.8, 21.8.
It's clearly a one stop there. If Alex is there, it's 21.8.
It's back to a one stop. So I think everyone that pitted early on the mediums felt the early degradation, the rear tyre temperatures overheating. We saw that a bit on one lap even, the tyre temperatures going up. But if you can get them under control, the tyres have longevity. And there were some early panickers. Obviously, Leclerc's made massive headway by pitting early and making the most out of that with the squabbling going on between Russell and Norris and everyone being bunched up. But everyone that stayed out and is...
Alex, 21.8, 21.8.
It's clearly a one stop there. If Alex is there, it's 21.8.
The impression because Antonelli is 9/10 of a second away from Isaac Hadjar, 8/10 of a second.
Stepping out the cut, undercut these guys.
There is no gap right now, and we are not ruling out plan C.
Understood.
Over Norris, so he had effectively jumped Norris. That's now gone as Leclerc's fighting through the traffic. So Norris and McLaren can breathe easier in that clear air out front. Leclerc is now in a race for still 4th position.
It's like the rear track rod or something. Just the rear movement, even in a straight line.
Well, the track rod was broken. He would be...
It's like the rear track rod or something. Just the rear movement, even in a straight line.
Devastated to find themselves not able to make the pass, and I think Ollie Behrman remembered who he was racing there, part of the Ferrari Academy as a junior, and he backed out of it as Charles Leclerc goes through. Very polite.
I think if that was Tsunoda, he might have made that a little bit harder, being in a Red Bull, but certainly the Haas there of Behrman being very compliant, allowing Leclerc through on the inside.
It's another look at how Oscar Piastri improved up to 7th position. To update you on his gap to Max Verstappen, 33 seconds now.
Mercedes have told George Russell they don't see anything on the data, and he's still lapping okay. He's now up to the back of Tsunoda, and he's within a couple of seconds of Leclerc still. There you can see as Leclerc made it through. That is Russell on the tail of Tsunoda, and here we go. Full screen. George now having to make the move. It's not a nice feeling when you think something's not right. Probably something is not quite right in the Mercedes. He's felt it all the way through. But there we go. It's not easy to see anything for Mercedes on the data, so he has to just keep his head down and maximise his point score.
Yeah, there is sometimes you just can't explain what that feeling is, but equally, as you're sort of alluding to there, Julian, drivers are like Princess and the Pea, they sense everything. The car is strapped to their body, quite literally, and you get so used to what that balance of that vehicle below you feels like. Fresh tires, old tires, and well, just doesn't. He hasn't been really settled. Although he did a brilliant job in qualifying, he hasn't really been settled with the car this weekend.
No, and they did suffer in Jeddah a real fall away of performance overall. It is worth saying that last year the C5 tyre, which is our medium this weekend, did 37 laps in the hands of Kevin Magnussen, Haas driver last year. So that gives you an idea of how far that tyre can go.
And that car behind George Russell is Carlos Sainz, who jumped Fernando Alonso at the first round of pit stops as well. Alonso qualified so well as well yesterday. Still running in a net points position in 14th, having made the early stop. But it's Sainz who's now coming back towards Russell, having another good race day in the Williams. They were running with the Ferraris and the Mercedes last time out, and they're doing the same again here. Albon stays out and is on the long run. He's going to have some fresher tyres to go attacking at the end, and Sainz is starting to get in the real tracks of Russell.
So Piastri gets the gap down to 32 seconds. He had a little bit of clear air after Hülkenberg, and then found himself getting into the wheel tracks of Lewis Hamilton.
And this is worst case now for Piastri. He was 6-7 tenths quicker than Verstappen for the last 2 laps, starting to make Red Bull think about a pit stop, but now he's stuck here. Hamilton is stuck behind Antonelli. He's been stuck here since lap 1. Within DRS range, we've seen Kimi keep moving to the middle of the road to defend from Lewis into Tamburello, the first big braking zone. How is Oscar going to deal with these two who are racing each other, and Hamilton, who's constantly in the wheel tracks of Antonelli with the DRS and a decent straight line speed in the Ferrari?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, but somehow it feels like momentum is with him.
There's George Russell going past Yuki Tsunoda. Again, that Red Bull so efficient in a straight line with its DRS. And there is a Mercedes flag within the sea of red. Kimi Antonelli has seen that has become a more common occurrence. Jolene saying it's a bit brave. It would have been brave before Kimi turned up.
You can't sit in the away stands and cheer and overtake like that, surely.
But isn't that the beautiful thing about our sport? That you can have a family there all wearing different hats, showing their support to different teams.
And it's a McLaren going past a Ferrari. Is it under braking? It is. Big move for Oscar Piastri's Grand Prix. Yes, there's a tyre offset between these two, but if Piastri can get past quickly, he's still a factor to win the Grand Prix. He's had to do it the hard way so far. 32 seconds between Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen in the lead.
Nice move that from Piastri. I said he'd have to work for that one, and he did. Hamilton had the inside line and meant that Piastri had to go late on the brakes and ensure the Ferrari wasn't going to keep its nose in at the first corner. And that's a big one, because it breaks the DRS train from Hamilton to Antonelli. Antonelli should be an easier pass in theory coming up. He's not far away from Hadjar though, and that'll be a bit of a slipstream to defend from Piastri.
You've got to say Hadjar's doing a great job, still out there on that medium tyre. Lap times not under pressure from Antonelli. So the Racing Bull driver having a very strong showing.
Yeah, stabilised well after losing a couple of places at the start of the Grand Prix. Hadjar looking for his 3rd point-scoring finish in Formula One today. He's been in the top 10 in Japan and Saudi Arabia so far in this 2025 season. His rookie campaign in the championship.
As a reference here, Albon in 3rd, if he was to pit now, would come out right with Alonso in 14th.
And it's a move for Oscar Piastri again. He's able to slice by the Ferrari, then the Mercedes, and he's still kept his race alive. As Charles Leclerc, left-hand side of your screen, gets past Hülkenberg, trying to do the same thing a few metres back.
So Verstappen can pit and comfortably cover off Piastri still, because Oscar's been going through the traffic. But Oscar's been doing it well enough that Norris will be behind him.
Guys, come on, let's not be stupid.
I think you're doing a great job. You're pulling away from Hadjar and Alonso.
Not quite sure what the stupid thing would be for Williams right now with Albon, who is ticking along really nicely. He's got clear track all around him. And as I said, he would be right with Alonso where he to pit. He was behind Alonso when Alonso pitted. So this is an overcut now. And then he'll have the fresh tyres as well. So
Guys, come on, let's not be stupid.
I think you're doing a great job. You're pulling away from Hadjar and Alonso.
With that group of cars, as we see, no challenge for Piastri to get past Hadjar.
Yeah, you get to the stage of the race there where Hadjar's like, there's absolutely no point in making this difficult for Piastri. He's going to get by, and that's the picking the battles part of the Grand Prix that we were talking about earlier on. Oscar Piastri finds himself up to 4th position now on the road. The gap remains at 32 seconds.
We're in a bit of a stalemate here now out front. Verstappen and Norris have had no need to pit. Things are fine for them right now. At some point, Verstappen might. Now Piastri has clear air. If he can start to take half a second a lap plus off Verstappen, Verstappen will need to cover him off in the next few laps. So we'll see now if we get a response from Red Bull. At which point McLaren have no need to pit Norris. But here we go. They're going to pit him.
So as we suggested earlier, for Norris, why not roll the dice of something funky happening at your pit stop?
I don't know why they're pitting him now. Who trying to make sure they stay ahead of Leclerc?
Charles Leclerc making his way through the traffic like Oscar Piastri is. And pats on the back there after the slightly slow stop for Oscar Piastri. Looked a lot quicker for Lando Norris. Was a lot quicker for Lando Norris. 2.1 is what they want to see. Alex Albon is up to 2nd place in a Williams. And Lando Norris is waiting and waiting and waiting for the control line to get back on the racetrack, and they decided, having seen Oscar Piastri make his way through, hold on, yellow flag is out, and that could change things. Esteban Ocon is going slowly on my driver tracker, and there he is, he's parked up. Ocon in the Haas pulls over.
So why did McLaren pit Norris? They're 1 lap too early. Now we're going to get a safety car, and Verstappen will have the easiest pit stop ever, and McLaren have covered off Leclerc by 3 seconds. The VSC is now out, and they've missed that chance.
The virtual safety car saves you 10 seconds on the price of your pit stop. There's the graphic to confirm it.
And Verstappen is just coming to the final corner, 18. Well, 19 is the FIA map, but watch this. He will just very comfortably drive into the pits.
Oh, they've got a massive margin to get this car serviced and out now for Red Bull. This will be the most comfortable pit stop they should have all season to retain a race lead under the VSC.
They get the pit stop that they needed. Lewis Hamilton will get the same. It's only a virtual safety car, can be withdrawn whenever race control decide.
Albon will get his chance as well. He's just coming up to the 2nd last corner.
This is going to be brilliant for Williams and Albon, yeah. He's going to be right out into the thick of it as Verstappen emerges. Look how far back Piastri is. Norris is behind him because McLaren they just pitted 1 lap early. I mean, this is unlucky for them.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. All the time I get with this virtual safety car.
Charles Leclerc bemoans his luck. Williams having a great season. Need a clean pit.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. All the time I get with this virtual safety car.
Albon and Hadjar, their speed is still reduced by the virtual safety car. Hadjar, Antonelli, Hamilton, Alonso, Stroll and Charles Leclerc is the top 10. It's still a virtual, not a full.
Oh, look at the gap that Verstappen's got to Piastri now. 20 seconds. 20 seconds and 30 pretty much to Norris.
Things would change if it was upgraded to a full safety car. If they cannot move the Haas behind the barriers, it would have to be upgraded to a full safety car, but no evidence of that at the moment.
Albon is comfortably in 4th. Comfortably, he's got Hadjar behind him. I said before the race, this could be podium day for Williams. I want that on the record. It doesn't take much to happen here for Alex Albon to get that team back to the podium.
Well, Max Verstappen waited a lap longer, and he has Imola to himself in the lead. the driver who has won 3 Grand Prix in a row here in an amazing position to make it 4. His lead across the line, 21 seconds. Piastri is going to peel in. So Oscar Piastri, having come in earlier on, having done all of that effort to scythe his way through the field, comes in for a fresh set of tyres, gets rid of the old hards, cleanest again, and gets back into the race. And he had the safety to do that, to only lose a position to his teammate. Control line though, and it's going to be Albon who moves into 3rd position in the classification, still behind the virtual safety car.
Okay, and that's hard tyres to the end of the race.
And it's ending right now. So the race has been reset by the timing of the virtual safety car, and Oscar Piastri will have to react to that. The green flag flies once again.
I think he was a bit slow reacting to the virtual safety car ending, which Charles Leclerc isn't. Will he try and do a max around the outside? No, he doesn't.
And he didn't have the room, he didn't have the momentum to carry him around the outside, and a scrambled race means that McLaren chose to give Piastri new hard tyres, and Alex Albon runs in 3rd position as Charles Leclerc has a look to the inside of Toza, a famous old hairpin that sends you back up the hill. It's lap 31 of 63, and this Grand Prix has been redrawn after Esteban Ocon became the only retirement so far.
Got to find out why this is Toza. Just listen. Yeah, that doesn't sound right, does it? It's a full-on mechanical failure of the power unit.
And Leclerc, having gone from a race starting in 11th up to 4th.
Whoa, George Russell into the back of the Haas in front there.
Oh, that would have, I mean, that's an unsafe release as well, it looks like.
Messy stuff. Messy stuff in the pit lane. It was Oliver Behrman that he was making contact with under braking. Only a nudge, but still not what you want to see in the pit lane.
Yeah, heart-in-mouth stuff for Russell as he's in. There's nothing more you can do there. You're on the brakes and trying to stop the car just in time.
Kimi Antonelli thinks, am I going to get past Hadjar? Am I going to get past? And then sees Hadjar pull into the fast lane ahead. But let's go to trackside pictures, and we see the Racing Bull car still ahead, as Sainz has been able to get past Yuki Tsunoda. That's a position gained for 13th place, and you are looking at Hadjar versus Antonelli for 5th position in the Grand Prix.
Sport is just incredible, isn't it? For giving you or putting you on an emotional roller coaster. You just never know what's going to happen.
I'm surprised how many drivers opted for a second pit stop there under the VSC. It's alluring because it saves you 10 seconds compared to a pit stop. It's still 18 seconds to change a set of tyres, and it's cost someone like Charles Leclerc whopping track position here down towards the 9th place. Obviously they thought the hard tyres that they were on were going to fade away, but the mediums were ticking along nicely for Verstappen, for Norris, for Albon, and the hards, no one's taken them towards the end of their life yet. And on a circuit that's not that easy to overtake on, they had not only track position, but a good amount of time. This wasn't a full safety car that bunched the field again. This was just a VSC, so Leclerc had a good amount of margin to those behind. Ferrari have gone cautious, as have everyone that pitted early, including Oscar Piastri, who's given up a podium place at this stage. I'm sure they know more than me on this, but I'm just surprised no one tried to stick it out on a used hard.
Move for George Russell in 11th position. He makes his way past the Sauber of Nico Hülkenberg, who is still out there on the medium tyre. No, he switched to the medium tyre, and the gap to Stroll now 0.4 of a second from Russell, who's had a tough day for Mercedes. Going to be a lot of frustrated drivers meandering through the paddock later on because of the timing of how this has played out. Earlier on, Charles Leclerc started the domino effect, the first competitive runner to come in and switch tyres. Others ahead had to respond to that. It even affected things at the very front. I told you a lap ago about this move for Carlos Sainz. This is how he got past Yuki Tsunoda.
Again, this guy touched me. This guy touched me like in Bahrain.
seeking all Grand Prix, and he powers past Kimi Antonelli, the local driver, and the team. But this is the racetrack closest to Ferrari's factory, and Hamilton on the medium, able to get by and up to P6.
Another good move on the brakes. That has been 33 laps in the making, and finally he's made it through. George Russell down to 11th place, again one of those drivers that took a second pit stop. So he's behind Stroll and Alonso, who did stay out under the VSC. So Stroll and Alonso did exactly what I was talking about, actually, and didn't take the second pit stop. They weren't having the greatest of runs on the hard tyres anyway, but it's given them track position over George Russell, who was ahead. Problem is they've lost out anyway to the likes of Hadjar, to Antonelli and Hamilton, who went long and really benefited from the VSC.
In the battle for third position, we're looking at George Russell. He was the last driver to score a podium of any description for Williams back in 2021. That rained-off Grand Prix in Belgium. The last full distance Grand Prix was Lance Stroll on the podium, third position in a drag race to the line, beaten by Valtteri Bottas. But Stroll on the podium, amazing Grand Prix back in Azerbaijan 2017. That's the last time we had a Williams on the rostrum after a full race. That's the nice part of the sentence for Williams. The disappointing thing for them, Oscar Piastri roasting pace behind, 9/10 of a second quicker, as we see another move for George Russell. Or will it be? Will Stroll try and hang on? He can't. And it's Russell to the apex of the second part of the Tamburello chicane, first in these three.
Just gives a slight breathing space to Alonso, who you can see there for this moment probably is just outside DRS, but George Russell, the quicker package, will be on him by the end of the lap.
And Alonso, who hasn't scored a point yet this season, has had a great weekend so far. Qualified fifth, has been a bit unlucky in the strategy stakes all round here to be ninth and have Russell now on his tail, and George should find that move fairly straightforward in a Mercedes on fresh tyres. Still got to do it though, and no move is particularly easy around this circuit. Other drivers further back, Sainz lost out a lot by taking a second pit stop as well, so he's going to be on the charge as he was with Yuki Tsunoda, taking no prisoners. Hamilton is onto the back of Hadjar. This is another chance for Lewis then on the medium tyre that's quicker. May well be sending it for fifth.
So he's got a great run in the slipstream as they build up to 190 miles per hour. Hadjar checks in the left mirror, and who's there? He's Racing Hero, who's going by Hamilton up to fifth position. If he stays there, it equals his best Grand Prix result for Ferrari, and the crowd enjoyed that one. Hamilton's had to wait for the second part of this Grand Prix to go on the attack, but he has now moved past Antonelli and Hadjar. That is George Russell getting past another Aston Martin, and he's past Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, that pass was done nice and early before the braking, a little bit more straightforward than his pass on Lance Stroll, excuse me. So that now releases him with a bit of clear air ahead. What sort of progress can he make? Leclerc probably isn't too far up the road, do we think? 8 seconds or so?
Yeah, he'll be quick as well, Leclerc, having made the second stop, and I don't see Russell having the massive pace advantage over Leclerc, who was chasing already in that previous stint. So may be about where George Russell is today by the time Antonelli's on fresh tyres, Hadjar, Hamilton, Albon all ahead on fresh tyres as well. Hamilton has 8.5 seconds to Albon in third. If Albon can get his elbows out in a slippery Williams and keep Piastri somehow at bay for third position, Hamilton will get there as well before the end of this race.
Alex Albon's best result so far this year was fifth position for Williams. As we're going to go back to another tale of Ferrari versus Mercedes. And it is Charles Leclerc getting close, but no momentum to get past Kimi Antonelli at the moment. What about Carlos Sainz? He's got unlucky with some of the timings today of when he's come in, and he's moved up to 12th position past Lance Stroll. They're both on the hard tyre.
The P5 on the road, awesome.
Yeah, have to use a lot of tyres to get through those two.
So Hamilton talking about the amount of tyres that he's used in the battle for the final place on the podium. Championship leader Oscar Piastri has got that gap down from 5 seconds to 2 now. That's the gap between Albon in third and Piastri in fourth.
I always love the commentary that Hamilton gives us from the cockpit. You feel...
The P5 on the road, awesome.
Yeah, have to use a lot of tyres to get through those two.
Has got pace, and I like the positivity today from Ferrari.
A reminder, the C5 was taken 37 laps last year, so it can be a robust tyre if it needs to be. What sort of competitive shape it would be in at the end, different story. Another pass for Ferrari. Fans have been able to enjoy this. And they were outside the top 10 for the first time in Imola F1 history, but look at the fans wearing red, lining this circuit, enjoying another pass into Tamburello, and that is Charles Leclerc up to 7th place.
Again, just, we know this, don't we? Sports, it takes us an emotional roller coaster, but this isn't just about the red cap, Torticia, Tifosi. I've got a bunch of dignitaries opposite me looking like they're about to go to a wedding or something, and they were high-fiving and jumping and clapping. If you're a Ferrari fan, or any fan of any team, of course, when they're making positive moves, it makes you feel good.
Certainly does, and they are being cheered around every single corner. Oscar Piastri on the brink of DRS now in the battle to chase down this man who has been absolutely superb this year. Only one time in the Grand Prix format has Alex Albon missed out on a point score this year. That was in Bahrain. He was 5th in Australia. He was 5th last time out in Miami. And how hard is he going to be able to race Oscar Piastri?
Well, he's got to give it everything, hasn't he, Albon here? He's had a brilliant race. Williams are coming on strong. They were sensational in Miami. Albon was already mixing it with the big boys in Miami and had a brilliant finish, 5th place. So he's got to just give this a go now. In a podium position with 24 laps left, it's so unlikely that he's going to be keeping the championship leader behind. We know Piastri's a great racer as well. But Williams is good in a straight line. Can he keep the traction out of the final corner and do what Fernando Alonso on his used tyres can't, and keep cars behind at the first braking zone?
Yeah, Hulkenberg able to make the move, and Hulkenberg up into the top 10 would only be Sauber's 2nd point scoring finish of the campaign if he can stay there.
I think Aston Martin here are kind of proving why everyone did take the 2nd pit stop. Alonso was just behind Sainz, so Sainz is now behind him, but the fresh tyres are giving enough juice for some easy passes on the 2 Aston Martins.
This is Yuki Tsunoda improving up to 13th position. He's getting past Lance Stroll. Here's another replay of it. DRS pass, and the Red Bull gets past the Aston Martin.
He's got a little damage on his front right wing end plate, which may or may not be affecting the balance of that car.
Alex Albon hasn't been on the podium for 5 years in Formula One, and Oscar Piastri takes that dream away. It's been a great campaign for Williams so far, but Albon not able to resist, or maybe choosing not to resist. Either way, Piastri moves himself up to 3rd position.
Too strong Piastri there, and he just had the traction coming out of the final corner. That is new tyres to new tyres, so that's why I thought Albon might be able to make more of a fist of it there in a Williams. There's a decent Q3 runner these days, of course, but Piastri's just too strong and clinical with his passes. He honestly didn't need to be that clinical there. He was well ahead before the braking zone.
So Oscar Piastri, I've been telling you this gap when it was relevant, when Verstappen didn't need to stop. He's still 31 seconds back. The problem is that Verstappen's taken his pit stop, his new tyres now. 11 laps he's been on the hard, and Lando Norris, Max Verstappen last time around both did a 1:19.6, and Lando Norris only 100th of a second quicker than our race leader. Max Verstappen looking to win 4 in a row around this circuit, looking to return to the top step of the podium for only the 2nd time this season and the 1st time since Japan.
Yeah, well, a few laps to go before we can declare the winner. What's going to be interesting, I think, is we see Leclerc on Hadjar. Once he's passed, he's only got a couple of seconds up the road to Hamilton. So we could well see a little revisit of the battle. As you see, DRS move, Hadjar not getting involved in that battle. But we could well have the Ferrari drivers racing it out for that 5th place finish.
Leclerc seems to be the quicker than Hamilton, charging through the field and keeping the distance to his teammate. There they are in the same shot there, into Tosa.
Fresher tyres, of course, on Leclerc. So what's going to happen when he gets onto the back of Hamilton and goes, knock, knock, guys, I'm quicker?
It depends if they think they can catch Albon ahead. There's still 21 laps to go in the race. We're 2/3 distance. There's a long old way to go, and Albon at the moment is holding that 8.5 seconds gap to Hamilton, he didn't lose really any time fighting Piastri because Oscar came flying straight past in one go. So maybe he was wise to not put up a fight. I don't think he really had a choice to put up a fight with the pace that Piastri had. And the fight really is for Williams to get their best result of the year now and finish fourth, is where Albon was on the road in Melbourne, wasn't it? But lost it afterwards in the stewards' room. But he's back there again. Sainz is trying to get through for a point as well, having had his race a little bit scuppered with the VSC, as plenty of other drivers had. It's worked brilliantly for Albon, though, and he's got to try and hang on. The two Ferraris. Are we going to get some interesting team radio coming up shortly, do you reckon?
More for the greatest hits of Ferrari's interesting team radio this year. Plenty of memorable messages as Hülkenberg has a big check of the right mirror, and there sits Carlos Sainz with DRS with the opportunity, and Hülkenberg waits until the last possible moment to make his move, but he can't keep Sainz behind, and Williams once again have two cars in the top 10. The advantage of signing a proven race winner again has been writ large in the campaign, and Sainz getting unlucky with the timing of the virtual safety car, but Albon in fourth, Sainz in 10th position, two cars in the top 10 once again.
But this race really goes to show how strategy makes a massive difference, and it basically luck in this part, to be honest. Williams started with two cars, 6th and 7th. Sainz was ahead of Albon. He maintained ahead of Albon in the first stint, but Williams pitted him and he jumped Fernando Alonso. It seemed like a nice bit of work, but in doing so, they then kept Albon going long, and this is just a 50-50 split. If Albon had qualified ahead, then it probably would have been the other way, and Sainz might be running up in fourth place right now. But by pitting early, he did the Piastri run, which you could say the same thing for McLaren. Piastri's done nothing wrong to be behind Norris by this far.
It's gonna be a torture. It's like luckiest driver in the world.
Well, some interesting insight to Fernando's feelings right now. Yes, he's beating himself up for the fact that they've not pitted and they're just slow.
It's gonna be a torture. It's like luckiest driver in the world.
Talking about, we see it highlighted with different teammates. So Sainz's race versus Albon's race, they've probably not done that much different to be as where they are.
Thanks for that.
Gasly's race, of course, was undone in that early off at Piratella. The corner he's just swept through once again, and Alpine either way were having a long haul to get some points out of this one, but he can at least be grateful that his debutant teammate is getting out of the way for him, and we're going to see a replay here of...
Thanks for that.
And Julian's going to explain why.
Well, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect for Gasly because he comes through absolutely flat out, takes the DRS and sweeps through. Well, I guess you don't run offline, do you, DC? You can get back online for the corner. You just drop away a couple of seconds. What are your thoughts on that one then, DC?
No, it's exactly what I was thinking, but I just felt I'd bring you in as a more recent racer.
We've got the Ferraris fifth at the moment. As you can see, Hamilton's got a pace advantage over Albon, but Leclerc has got the gap down to 1.4 seconds. Charles Leclerc, who has scored Ferrari's only Grand Prix podium this year with third place in Jeddah. Lewis Hamilton, who's taken a sprint pole and a sprint victory for Ferrari in Shanghai. And these two aren't split by much. Hamilton on the medium tyre, Leclerc on the hard.
And Hamilton is now making inroads into Albon as well. So the gap that was 8.5 seconds is now 7. Leclerc is catching Hamilton, as we can see, his teammate up ahead. 21 laps to go. They could all get towards Albon. Are we going to hear some fruity team radio for the second race in a row between the Ferrari drivers and their engineers? Quite probably, because I'm sure at this point Leclerc's feeling the dirty air in the high speed now, within 2 seconds of Hamilton. They're on the same tyre freshness. They're on new tyres at the same time, but it's the compound difference that Hamilton has. The mediums will be more fragile to the end of the race. They overheat more easily, whereas Leclerc should be able to just keep the pressure on, keep pushing hard, and in theory over one lap the hard tyre will be slower, but over this distance it might well be quicker.
Just looking at teammates as well with the offsets, we've got Russell and Antonelli. Russell taking about half a second a lap out of Antonelli.
Antonelli, who's pulling over.
I got an issue.
Okay, copy.
Well, the local hero will not see the checkered flag. He parks up on lap 46 of 63, and he has not had the dream home debut, but he has made a lot of his friends and family proud by racing at just 18 years of age in Formula One for Mercedes.
I got an issue.
Okay, copy.
Up the hill, but we dealt with Esteban Ocon under a virtual. Kimi Antonelli requires a full safety car, and we wouldn't be able to broadcast you anything Red Bull was saying on the team pit wall right now. Second retirement of the Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli.
Exiting the second chicane, and it's already, I believe, gone wrong as he's come off the curbs there. So sounds like a reset as we believe Max Verstappen is headed to the pits.
Well, he won't be the only one. In comes Lando Norris as well. I imagine it's going to be fairly busy down there, and we have a reset Grand Prix in the final stages.
McLaren must surely pit. At least Norris has the gap. I don't know if Piastri pits and those behind don't. He's going to fall behind Albon again, and potentially the two Ferraris, but have the fresher tyres once again. These hard tyres should be fine to go to the end, but Verstappen obviously has the free choice of pit stop. So does Norris. In they come. Steady again on the right front from McLaren.
Yeah, and a set of strobs going on.
We need to stay out. We don't have a tyre that can do to the end.
But soft will be better than that.
It's 17 laps, Charles. 17 laps to the end.
How many laps have my medium?
Medium has 11 laps.
Okay, Ferrari debating strategy. We'll show you what they do in a few moments' time. Oscar Piastri is ahead of Lando Norris. Wait for the line. Oh, who got there? Who got there first? It's who gets to the line at the end of the pit exit first, and Lando Norris is third.
And he just had the margin. It was a slightly sticky stop again from McLaren, who have not had the easiest time in the pit lane today. But I think he was by a...
We need to stay out. We don't have a tyre that can do to the end.
But soft will be better than that.
It's 17 laps, Charles. 17 laps to the end.
How many laps have my medium?
Medium has 11 laps.
To the beginning of the 50s before they restart this race, so we could well find ourselves in a sort of 10-lap sprint to the finish.
Which is why Charles Leclerc is questioning whether they bolt on the soft tyre. The driver currently in P5. You're looking at Fernando Alonso. You're looking at Lance Stroll, I should say. He is coming out of the pit lane. Then it is Colapinto, Bortoleto also in the pit lane as well.
Well, Leclerc's got a fresh shot at passing Albon now. He'll be back onto the tail of the Williams, and they're on the same tyres. Neither of those two pitted, so that'll be like for like. Further back, Hamilton did take the pit stop. Russell stayed out, which is why he's now back up into 6th place. So Hamilton will have a chance on fresh tyres to go for it. And now Albon pits. He wants another fresh set, and he's going to lose track position in doing so, but should cover off Hamilton then.
So pitting under the safety car is 10 seconds cheaper, but you've still got to look at the gap between your rivals, operating at reduced speed, of course. We were unable to definitively work out who was ahead at the safety car line on first glance, and I'm slightly sleep deprived, so I was going to hope that either TC or Jody were going to make the shout there. But I'm also hearing that it wasn't clear from the angle either, and either way, Williams have sorted that situation out themselves by putting a new set of boots on Alex Albon's Williams. He's in the position which represents his best finish in Grand Prix racing this year with P5. He's ahead of George Russell, who stayed out there. 18-lap-old hard tyres for Russell, 18-lap-old hard tyres for Leclerc, 17-lap-old hard tyres for Oscar Piastri.
Still looks like they haven't managed to deploy a recovery vehicle for that stricken Mercedes. So as they get all of the cars to eventually come in line behind the safety car, we've got Bortoleto just crossing the start-finish line. As we can see, the turn 14, 15, that's where the safety car group is there right now. So, yeah, I think it's going to be into the 50s before we get a restart.
This is going to be the angle then for Norris, whether he stayed ahead of Albon or not. First of all, it's not a great stop. The front right is slow to come off and a bit slow to go on as well. That's quite a lengthy delay there for Norris in the pit lane. Should have been okay with Albon. As it was super close. The line is right at the top there. Here comes Albon.
Here we go. Who gets there first? This is the angle we've got. Very close. Photo finish stuff.
It looked like Albon, and then he was backing out, obviously, to get down to the speed limit.
Yeah, it looked like Albon. Albon obviously was ahead, but you can't go too quick under the safety car conditions either. You're following a delta, so I imagine Albon's given it the beans to make sure that at the safety car line, he is as far forward as he possibly can. Then he's realised he's actually going too quick, so he has to slow up. Norris then gets a chance to come back at the line. Looked like it was probably Albon, but it was a little bit marginal between them. Albon has now pitted, which kind of negates it in theory, but it's a tough one.
Feels like we're just having a bit of a reset here. It's a long way up the hill on the way to Piratella. You're going to see the car now being recovered by the recovery vehicle on the circuit, which is why we needed the full safety car. Ocon was much closer to the gap in the barrier, and that has given us a grandstand finish.
So I would say the bad luck that Piastri had with the safety car call initially has been redone by the second safety car call, which has now put Norris back behind him. But the problem is for Oscar, he is on the much more used tyres. 16 laps difference, the tyres of Piastri and Norris today. So for Piastri to go and hunt down Verstappen, who has seemed under control in this race, took that amazing move at the start and has not really looked back since. For Piastri to do that on a tyre that is 16 laps older is ambitious. For Norris to do it is ambitious enough on the same tyre as Verstappen.
I'm looking to see if we can finish at the points or not, and I'm not being pessimistic. These tires. I'm looking to see if we can finish at the points or not, and I'm not being pessimistic. These tires are going to be incredibly difficult to restart.
I see Oscar's tyres are pretty dead. If you want any chance of kind of go for the lead, then I guess we know what to do. I'm not asking you to let me by, I'm just saying let's not make it too hard for one another. That's all. If we fight, then we can go backwards.
It's uncomfortable, isn't it? Because this is the season where we're expecting the championship to be played out between...
I see Oscar's tyres are pretty dead. If you want any chance of trying to go for the lead, then I guess we know what to do. I'm not asking to let me by, I'm just saying let's not make it too hard for one another, that's all. If we fight, then we could go backwards.
and Norris as well on his teammate Oscar Piastri. Piastri's done well at the restart.
DRS now enabled. Lando Norris has a 9/10 of a second gap. He has Oscar Piastri using the curb and a bit more.
Thought he was heading to the gravel there out of the final corner. It's a long run. There's DRS now for Norris, but Piastri was clearly wringing the neck of the McLaren out of the final turn.
Top two drivers in the Formula One World Championship, and breaking down from 9/10 of a second to only half a second. Not the momentum that Norris would have wanted, and he's always good out of Tamburello heading into Villeneuve.
Yeah, we're getting no team orders, obviously, between the two McLarens. So maybe this is a bit like Japan, when Piastri was behind, wanted a chance to clear Norris to go at Verstappen, and McLaren thought, you know what, you're not going to get there anyway, so we'll play it out between you two. This time, it's a role reversal. Verstappen still leads. It's Norris behind Piastri. Norris is quicker, but he's going to have to do it on the track.
Hamilton versus his old teammate at Piratella. Tries the up and under again, and Russell makes the corner.
Good defence there from Russell. That was similar to Tsunoda. But Hamilton couldn't get the drive, and Russell didn't find the gravel. Hamilton's got loads of grip, though, on the rears there of that Ferrari, putting Russell under big pressure. Russell's not been happy all day, really, in the Mercedes, but somehow has got himself back up to 6th place. I think he's going to have some serious defending to do into Tamburello next time, though.
OK, well, race control have said there's no further investigation for Norris and Albon, so no matter who is ahead, that's going no further. Hamilton, in the left-hand side of your picture, has a great run out of the second Ravazza corner. Mainframe, the top two drivers in the World Championship. Oscar Piastri started the day on 131, and Lando Norris 115. Change of position. And Lewis Hamilton sweeps on by. That wasn't much of a contest. That will give him encouragement. He was able to go straight past George Russell. Russell on the old hards, Hamilton on the new, and the Ferrari man up to P6.
Nice pass. Too much grip there for Hamilton, and that was telling, wasn't it, really, for half a lap before as they went side by side into Piratella. If you can do that, it shows you've got a load more grip. And Albon is trying to do a similar thing to Leclerc just up the road. The
old tyres are fading here at different parts of the racetrack, not just with the use of DRS on the main straight. And it means that Piastri, who has been the championship leader for the last couple of rounds, has his nearest rival for the title closing in, and this will be his best opportunity to make the pass.
This is really important for the championship, for momentum and for pure points between Norris and Piastri. Oscar's been fantastic the first part of the season. Lando's got an opportunity here. The racecraft between them has been quite obviously different. Piastri's been lauded, Norris has been struggling. Now he's got a chance. He's got a chance right now to try and put that right on fresher tyres.
The McLarens are bound to go wheel to wheel. Lando Norris trying to go past Oscar Piastri, the only driver ahead of him in the World Championship, round the outside of his teammate. Not much margin, but the move complete. And Norris is able to get by into second position. Piastri stays in the wheel tracks, but there's no way through. And Lando Norris is the lead McLaren in the race.
Yeah, brilliant move. Brilliant move from Norris there. Full commitment round the outside. Yes, he's got the fresher tyres, but he still had to execute it without running wide on the outside. I thought Piastri had sent that in deep as well on the defence. Wondered how Zach Brown might have been feeling. He looks pretty calm there on the pit wall, but those two running wheel to wheel, brilliant racing, and enough respect between them. In the end, great move from Norris.
Lewis Hamilton is closing in on the battle between Charles Leclerc and Alex Albon. Alex Albon has so much speed in the Williams, out of Tosa, climbing the hill to Piratella. It's just there's no grip around the outside of that corner. That is the battle for fourth. This was the battle for second, and Lando Norris getting by.
Yeah, they're racing wheel to wheel. Norris was ahead coming into the corner, and they were close as Piastri bounced over that apex curve. This was tricky stuff here. Norris had done enough on the entry. Oscar didn't have the right to force him wide, and my word, he nearly did. But in the end, wheel-to-wheel stuff and just about acceptable for McLaren and their two teammates to still be second and third.
Over to you, Alex Albon. Again, these two who grew up together, climbing the ranks into Formula One, all the way from go-karting. Great respect between the two of them, but we haven't seen them go wheel to wheel in Formula One too many times. Charles Leclerc on ancient hard tyres continues to keep the Williams behind.
Piastri's not disappeared up the road from these guys either. Even though Leclerc's on his old hard tyres, you wonder if Albon could clear Leclerc, if he could put some pressure back on Piastri. on his fresh hards at the end of this one, but he cannot make it past the Ferrari. Overtaking is just not easy around this place, even on the fresh tyres. Leclerc's been worried on his old tyres at the end. Hamilton's going to join them as well. And if the camera stays out wide, there he is, joining the pack. Three-way now for fourth place. And this should allow Piastri enough margin to maintain the podium.
Okay, 5.4 seconds between Max Verstappen, who timed things wonderfully at the restart, did what he needed to. He has begun lap 60. Norris 5 seconds back. Piastri will just try and bring it home for another podium. He's only missed the podium on one occasion so far this year. That was the heartbreak. He fell on home soil. Alex Albon's got a great chance. Never higher than P5 in a Grand Prix this year. Trying to be careful around the outside and into the gravel. Albon rejoins and Lewis Hamilton will get by around the outside using the curb as they head to the Villeneuve chicane, and it could have been fourth. It's sixth position for Albon as Hamilton goes through to fifth.
That's the jeopardy of the overtake around the outside of Tamburello. Albon had the space and managed to just send it round the outside there, but Leclerc held on. Who was ahead of the apex? We're going to look at the racing rules there, because clearly there was no space for Alex to hold on around the outside. Tough racing, difficult place to pass. Let's join it on board with Albon, who's ahead coming into the corner.
Bailed out.
That wasn't fair.
The racing rules are, if the defending driver has their front wheel ahead of the mirror, the car on the outside, the defending driver no longer required to leave a car's width. That is the driver's standing rule for 2025. Hamilton, he would have been delighted when he saw this in the nicest possible way. Alex Albon had to go for the pass, couldn't sit there with a Ferrari on old tyres. Albon rejoins and Hamilton able to make his way by. Ferrari versus Ferrari. How much will Charles Leclerc fight his teammate? It was an absolutely awful Saturday, but it's been a highlight reel for the two cars. The two teammates will not scrap it out, and Lewis Hamilton goes from P6 to P5 to P4 in a couple of laps.
Well, what a day this has been for Ferrari. They started 11th and 12th. There's been so many strategy ramifications at this one, but fundamentally, they've had great pace in the race, and Hamilton now clears up into fourth. With a few laps to go, he's not going to go and chase Piastri, I'm sure of that, with this part, as Leclerc has his mirrors full of...
That wasn't fair.
Podium is Big Stan.
Lewis Hamilton 2.7 seconds away from Oscar Piastri. And Piastri, there you go, there's the gap at the bottom of the picture. And lap 61 to 63. Well, sometimes you get single file races around here. Not today. A glorious sunshine and a glorious race. And can Albon make his way back to a season's best P5? Oh, he thought he had P4 for a moment. 3 laps that was in the making, unable to get by over the gravel. Here we go again.
Yep, so tucked in through Ravazza 2. This is where you want to be squeezing on the gas as soon as you possibly can. Half a second down as they flash past the pit lane. Opens the DRS again. And we're going to get another opportunity.
Can Albon finally make his way around the outside? Not this time. Tucks back in. Takes a lot of curb, which is risky around this place. He's going to have great momentum as he comes out of Tamburello, sliding around all the time in the dirty air. And he's not fancying the move that Lando Norris pulled into that chicane earlier on.
And then he finds the dirty air through the quick chicane there. It's a tough one. Leclerc is...
Look at this, he's all over the road. It's like a shopping trolley coming out of Tosa, and that is why every single time Charles Leclerc is so vulnerable into Piratella.
Yeah, he's just got no rear grip anymore. Hamilton is absolutely cleared off away from his teammate now, but Albon cannot find the speed. He didn't have enough of a run into that second chicane, and you can see the difference in the Williams compared to the McLaren earlier on when Norris pulled off the move on Russell into the second chicane. Having that rear planted through the second 2 parts of Tamburello, the first turn, through the left and the right, it was easier for Norris than it was for Albon. He had to back out of it, and that was tricky. It's under investigation, and I wondered here, is Albon had done enough, I think, on the way into the corner, because he's attacking on the outside. It's under investigation. Leclerc says he's been told to give back the position here to Albon.
We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and Alex Albon is able to get by. Charles Leclerc listens to the team instruction. Albon will score a third, fifth place of the campaign. He makes the move on the 63rd and last lap. Our race leader is through Piratella. He is heading to Acqua Minerale.
That's how racing is now. When you cut fast, you need to let pass. This is a joke. What did I do wrong?
Charles Leclerc is going to argue it afterwards. The team playing it by the book as not to risk a 5-second penalty and drop further down the order. What a frantic restart. You wouldn't know if you were Max Verstappen. Out front, he timed things perfectly, and he knows this feeling before. Dropping down to the Ravazza, he makes his way around the final corner of the last lap. And Max Verstappen will return to the top step of the podium. 4 victories in a row at Imola. Max Verstappen wins the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. He beats Lando Norris by 6.1 seconds. It is 2 McLarens on the podium once again. Oscar Piastri has his advantage in the World Championship eaten into, and he will be glad the race was only 63 laps because Hamilton was closing him down. Across the line in 5th was Alex Albon. 6th position for Charles Leclerc. Then it was Russell, Sainz.
That's how racing is now. When you cut fast, you need to let pass. This is a joke. What did I do wrong?
And racing all the way to the final position. But for the second time this year, it is Red Bull on top in Formula One by the end of a Sunday. And Max Verstappen, again, the master of this fabled old circuit. Started in second, bold and brilliant move to take the lead and win.
Get out there, Max. Nice job, mate. Nice job. Wow, Max. 400 races and you've won it. Brilliant, brilliant drive, brilliant weekend. Well done, mate. You really, really dominated that race.
Yeah, exactly that. Brilliant weekend. That was a fantastic execution all around. Thank you very much. And yeah, not bad on our 400 race. Well done, everyone. That was a very strong Saturday and Sunday, so well deserved that. Great job.
Max Verstappen, a total racer. His weekend off, he was powering around the Nordschleife in the GT3 car. And then sim racing in the early afternoon, winning when it came to 37 minutes past for local time. And it is always, if it's got 4 wheels, no matter the format, Max Verstappen is interested in driving it, and he's a 4-time winner around this racetrack now. Here's the man in second position, Lando Norris.
You too, mate.
Yeah, what a good race. Clearly just not the pace to win today, so let's keep pushing, guys. I know it's been a lovely start, but not quick enough to win today, so let's keep it up. Let's keep working hard. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, mate. Long, long way.
Get out there, Max. Nice job, mate. Nice job. Wow, Max. 400 races and you've won it. Brilliant, brilliant drive, brilliant weekend. Well done, mate. You really, really dominated that race.
Yeah, exactly that. Brilliant weekend. That was a fantastic execution all around. Thank you very much. And yeah, not bad on our 400 race. Well done, everyone. That was a very strong Saturday and Sunday, so well deserved that. Great job.
Pitted Norris. Red Bull went on.
For the Tifosi, that also them. For the Tifosi, that also them.
Happy with that sight on the left-hand side. His first trip to Italy in Ferrari racing red.
A really good drive from Hamilton and Leclerc, I have to say. I think Leclerc is right to give the place back to Albon. I think Albon will still be aggrieved because he was ahead of Hamilton before that. But you've got to be at least alongside, overtaking on the outside, coming into the corner to need the space. Albon was, and that's why it momentarily came up that it was under investigation. I think Ferrari were right to tell Leclerc to give that back. But I honestly think they'll all be pretty happy there. Verstappen's won. Norris is back in second place. Maybe Piastri will not be too chuffed with third. But Hamilton's back. Albon's got points for Williams, and Leclerc's had a really great race for Ferrari. A bit unlucky.
A great celebration for Max Verstappen. He sims in the early morning, he wins in the late afternoon. And the celebration told a story there. Into the arms of his Red Bull mechanics, hugging Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. We first gave him his chance in Formula One as the youngest ever Grand Prix driver. And he backed it up by becoming the youngest ever winner. He's still in the hunt to win a 5th consecutive World Championship. And Lewis Hamilton taking the acclaim of the crowds and able to go on the attack. 1.4 seconds behind Oscar Piastri and his first podium for Ferrari in a Grand Prix.
2 more laps and he might have got there. Very good attacking drive from Hamilton. And again, I think Ferrari generally had a decent execution of their race. Remember, they started 11th and 12th. Both drivers did a job. Pitbull did a good job as well. And they'll be happy to at least bring a big haul of points back from a home race.
Well, Verstappen clinging on all the way in Suzuka. It wasn't that sort of drive today. He seemed comfortable. There was no point where Norris or Piastri were able to scythe into his advantage. No more than a 0.2 of a second swing, and obviously they will be buoyant to win. But if that update has given them a car with a wider setup window, we could be set for an epic battle for the title.
22 points. The difference between the top 3 in the championship. Verstappen has kept himself in the mix in this opening part of the season so well, qualifying brilliantly and then getting his elbows out in the race. And it's just worked so well today to beat the McLarens. I think if he hadn't made that move at the start, he's not going to win. It's all about taking your opportunities, and this guy does it routinely, really. When there's a sniff, he'll be there, whether it's a pole or a race win. Superb drive.
Well, the drivers' point situation is closing up. Let's hear from our top 3, speaking to DC.
Well, Oscar, it was a brilliant Saturday, not such a strong Sunday. You got to take us right at the beginning. It looked like you had the corner, and in the end, Max swept around the outside.
Yeah, just brake too early, and yeah, I mean, it was a good move by Max as well. So disappointing, obviously, but I think we made a few wrong calls after that, anyways, and yeah, not our best Sunday. So definitely a lot of things to look at and review from that one, but. Yeah, well done to Max and Red Bull. I think you know, it was a good move, but also they had pace today. So yeah, we'll look back at that one and see what we can do a bit better.
The rest of the race was obviously decided by first virtual safety car, the luck of the draw when you make your stop, and then the full course safety car put us in the cockpit for those particular events and restarts.
Yeah, it was tricky. Yeah, obviously the VSC was perfectly timed for Max and Lando, and then I'd obviously used both my tyres at that point, so both my hard tyres, so made the last restart pretty tricky, and I tried my best to hang on to second, but yeah, just had nowhere near enough grip, so third it is.
Just on that overtake from your teammate, always difficult when 2 cars are going into a nip tight apex, just enough room for them there, but when you're on those older tyres, it was pretty close with your front axle.
Yeah, it was tricky. I tried my best to hang on, but yeah, just didn't have the grip, and yeah, I tried my best, and it was inevitable. I think it was going to get past, but I wasn't going to give up without a fight.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Still a podium. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have our second place finisher here, Lando Norris. Well, it was an interesting Grand Prix. You started 4th, so that looked like it was going to make it a long afternoon for you. But as the race went on, it came to you, and we saw that brilliant battle in the end with your teammate.
Yeah, it was a long race from that perspective. Not easy to overtake, but we did what we could. I think Max drove a good race. They were quick today, and probably a bit quicker. You know, we couldn't keep up, and we had a good little battle at the end between Oscar and myself, which is always tense, but always good fun. But a good race. You know, from us as a team, 2nd and 3rd is great. Of course, we would love to be up there fighting against Max, but they were too good for us today.
We saw some great wheel-to-wheel action with you having to go around the outside at the second chicane of the Mercedes. Just explain to us, when you commit on those sort of overtakes, you're putting a lot of trust in the guy on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, it's with George, and I could tell his tyres were struggling quite. He was struggling with the tyres a lot. So it's just a situation you've got to take advantage of. I mean, it's always risky. You never want to take too much risk, but we're also racing, and he's a fair racer. He's a good racer, so some good moves today.
Well, congratulations on that result. And by the way, you smell spectacular. I don't know what McLaren cologne you have. As we come to our victor. Well, Max, when the lights went out, it looked like you were staring down the barrel of coming out of the first corner in third place. You had, Oscar had made the very good start. We had George right up his gearbox, but somehow you had the commitment to go around the outside. Relive that moment.
Yeah, the start itself wasn't particularly great, but then I was still on the outside line, or basically the normal line. And I was like, well, I'm just going to try and send around the outside, and it worked really well. That, of course, then unleashed our pace, because once we're in the lead, yeah, the car was good. I could look after my tires, and we had a very good pace on it today. So, again, massive improvement from Friday, and I'm very, very pleased with that. Then, yeah, that VSC was quite handy to pit. And even then, even on the hard compound, I think our pace was very strong. But then, of course, there was a safety car, so the field was all back together. But even then, on the restart, I think we managed it all really well, and yeah, brought it home. Yeah, incredibly proud of everyone. You know, it's been a very important week for us. The cars performed really well, and also I think the whole execution of the whole race. You know, went to pit, the pit stops themselves, they were all very good.
So it's the 400th Grand Prix for the team, your 65th victory, which, congratulations, that's an incredible statistic. We're into this triple header here. Well, you started it with also doing a bit of running last weekend as well. It seems that you just want to be on track at all times.
Yeah, I mean, I like driving. I like, of course, racing in Formula One. I like racing any kind of car. And, of course, next week, completely different kind of track in Monaco. You know, that's also going to be very challenging. But for the moment, I just want to enjoy today and really take it in.
Well, we do want you to do that. But maybe just a quick word to the fans here at this Grand Prix. It's a historic racetrack, one that gave us a great Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fantastic to be in Italy. Proper passion for motorsports. So, yeah, it's fantastic to see all these fans out here the whole weekend. So, yeah, thank you very much for coming and supporting all the drivers.
Max, congratulations. Enjoy the podium.
Thank you.
Our thanks to David Coulthard in conversation with the top three. And this was the moment that Max Verstappen secured win number 65 in Formula One. Elation for Red Bull, their second win of the year in their 400th Grand Prix start, their 20-year anniversary of first competing in Formula One. And Max Verstappen, arms aloft, 4 wins in a row at Imola, a circuit record to be proud of. And let's head to the cool-down room.
No, it seems to be below road level. Great job.
That's your back. I think if we come here again, I hope a little resource in some areas. My God.
We get you to 5, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's okay.
Oh,
no. A great pass record. It's so, some of the tarmac's so weird though, like into turn 7, 1 lap. Oh! The guy racing. I dipped a wheel on the ground. So I've gone so like deep, like, oh my God, I'm going off. Squared it off, came out of me, best corner race that.
Because there was more grip on that
There's
area?
way more grip out in the dirt.
That's crazy. I mean, I didn't explore that.
Trying to do it next lap. No, it doesn't work. That's a vlog on. Lewis boxed for new or something there now?
If Alex hadn't got Charles there, he would have been podium.
Really?
Mate, once you go past, you're so much faster.
I know, I was like, oh, he's going to try to keep it in the okay.
Oscar Piastri speculating about what Alex Albon might have done there. He's equaled his season's best, Jolien, but he had great pace in that race, had an opportunity there. In the end, Charles Leclerc doing an amazing job for his team, securing Ferrari 4th place with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, and probably doing a good job for Oscar Piastri to hold on to that podium as well. I think Albon, at the first time of asking, if he could have cleared Leclerc quickly, might have had a chance, but at that point, I think he was already heading towards Piastri with enough of a buffer. But it was that sort of race, wasn't it? Jeopardy, a Williams getting towards a podium, Ferrari's coming from 11th and 12th, trying to get back to a podium. It was really anyone's day, apart from for the race win, which was only ever going to be Max after the first corner.
Yeah, never looked likely. Might have been a different story if we'd had an even set of fresh tyres on the restart. But we'll have to wait for more wheel-to-wheel battles between Verstappen, Norris and Piastri in the various combinations, because it's now time for what is always a special podium. You can see all of the crowd on the track from the Ravazza banking. Oscar Piastri back on the podium for the 6th time in 7 Grand Prix in 2025. And the same applies to Lando Norris, who finds himself stepping onto a Formula 1 podium for the 32nd time. 4 Grand Prix wins in a row around the Imola circuit for Max Verstappen, 65 all-time in his career. And you'll hear his national anthem. The Dutch and Austrian national anthems. The Dutch for Max Verstappen, 65-time Grand Prix winner in Formula 1 now. And the Austrian for Red Bull, who have won their 400th start in Formula 1.